Hi everyone, it's Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. For 412 days, Ukraine stands strong against the forces of the Russian invasion. Prime Minister of Ukraine Denis Shmyhal said that the counteroffensive of Ukrainian forces may begin in the summer, reports Ukrainska Pravda. In an interview with The Hill, the Prime Minister of Ukraine said that the greatest pressure to launch a counteroffensive comes from within Ukrainian society. At the same time, Ukraine does not feel pressure from its partners, as all our friends and partners clearly understand that in order to launch a counteroffensive, you need to be 100% ready for it. The Prime Minister added that the recent leak of classified US information will not prevent Ukraine from liberating its territories. Earlier, Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council Oleksiy Danilov said that the General Staff of Ukraine will make a decision about the start of the planned counteroffensive at the last moment. The Washington Post, referring to one of the secret US military documents leaked before, claimed that the US intelligence believes that Ukraine's problems with the accumulation of troops, ammunition and equipment may lead to the fact that its military will significantly lag behind the regional goals of Kyiv regarding the expected counteroffensive. In addition to the leaked document, US officials said that the prospects for a modest outcome of the spring offensive are also supported by a classified assessment by the National Intelligence Council. This assessment, which was recently presented to a narrow circle of people on Capitol Hill, showed that Ukraine is unlikely to be able to reclaim as much territory as Kyiv won last fall, during a stunning breakthrough in the east and south of the country. The 11th meeting of the Contact Group on Defense of Ukraine in the Ramstein format will be held at the Ramstein Air Base in Germany on April 21st, reports Radio Liberty. According to the media, it will be an in-person meeting headed by US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. Earlier, Minister of Defense of Ukraine Oleksiy Reznikov said that the priorities of the Ukrainian delegation at the meeting are unchanged. First of all, these are air defense systems. The second item, according to the minister, is armored vehicles and shells for heavy artillery. The third point is electronic warfare, drones and anti-drones. The Ramstein format is a group of high-ranking defense officials from about 50 states that provide military support to Ukraine or consider doing so. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, during his Ukrainian counterpart's visit to Canada, announced a new military aid package for Ukraine, reports Voice of America. The package will include 21,000 assault rifles, 38 machine guns, and more than 2.4 million rounds of ammunition. Canada has also expanded sanctions against Russia by designating another 14 individuals and 34 legal entities, reports European Pravda. In particular, the head of the Republic of Tatarstan, which is part of Russia, Rustam Minikhanov, and his wife, as well as Russian Deputy Defense Minister, State Secretary Nikolai Pankov, are subject to sanctions. Sanctions also hit Volga-Dnieper group of companies and Concord Management and Consulting, connected to owner of Wagner private military company Yevgeny Prigozhin. We would really appreciate if you could rate us, ideally with 5 stars, and leave a glowing review in the app where you are listening to this podcast, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or any other app. This way more people would learn about the highlights from Ukraine and truth about Russia's invasion. The World Bank estimates that Ukraine has an $11 billion funding gap for rapid recovery in 2023, reports Ekonomichna Pravda. World Bank President David Malpass stated that the terrible development of events in Ukraine is taking longer and longer than people had hoped. According to him, the World Bank participated in providing assistance in the direction of international resources to the civil sector of Ukraine, and is also currently looking at the restoration of the Ukrainian economy. The work of the Black Sea Grain Corridor on April 11th was suspended due to the lack of inspections of the Joint Coordination Center on that day, reports Interfax Ukraine. Kyiv believes it to be a sabotage by Russia. Deputy Minister of Communities, Territories and Infrastructure Development Yuri Vaskov, in a commentary to The Guardian, informed that Ukraine submitted the names of 3 bulk grain carriers as per the treaty agreement, but the representatives of the Russian side in the Joint Coordination Center crossed out the names and submitted other inbound vessels. As a result, no ships were allowed to continue on their journey, Vaskov said. He stressed that this way the Russians have violated the conditions of the Black Sea Grain Initiative. They decided to unilaterally change the plans of Ukrainian ports. The Highlights from Ukraine podcast is a commercial initiative of just two people, and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we're getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.